to Newmark. There's some snow on the ground still, but degrees, 6 mile an hour wind, game on.
They took on the big win, huh?
No wind. We were good to go. We were good to go.
Yeah, no, it's part of the reason why I don't golf. I don't need another vice.
Oh, but it's such a good vice.
I don't need that. Look, I don't have time now. I do not have time now. I would be divorced if I started golf.
Listen,
because she would be at the door just toe tapping, staring me down.
So, so you're saying there might be some unpleasant looks if you pick up golf?
I don't look. Sports is vice enough because she has to deal with it on the TV or at an event on a regular basis. Now imagine that I'm going to give up 3, 4, 5 hours additional whenever.
I'm not going to try and talk you into it, but I am going to talk you into it or try to. I would say this. Don't look at it as something else. Look at it as, even if you just did 9 holes, it ain't got to be 18. And just to get away from it all. So just something to consider.
I am not a 9 holes kind of dude, though. If I'm going to do this,
you're going to go 18.
All or nothing. All or nothing.
That jock that I have tried to make dormant in me, first of all, means I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to try to do it well.
Right.
Which is a whole other level of obsession that I just can't put into the universe.
I will say that doing it well part is I haven't got that down yet.
Most people I know that play it. Chris, how'd you hit?
Not good. Not good.
Not good.
Right? Like, okay.
Almost saw a hole in one though. Almost saw a hole in one.
What hole?
Oh, was it number? It's all messed up at Newmark where they have the different, it blends in. So 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. I think it was number 13. It was a little par 3. Nick had a little par 3 shot and it went right next to the hole. So he had an easy birdie comebacker, but that would have been crazy. Hole in one in the snow.
In the snow.
Man, that's good. What kind? I am told, a little birdie told me you guys have quite the show lined up here tonight.
We do. DP, we're excited about tonight. And I just want to piggyback a little bit off of what Teammates was talking about, too. This is National Mentoring Month. And as you know, DP, we listen to you guys in there talk about the importance of that, getting people involved. And I can't stress that enough. That is going to be basically the whole foundation of this show. But continuing on from a Nebraska, from an athletic perspective, the importance of mentoring, getting involved. In fact, I was on a Zoom this morning with the Teammates organization, along with Coach Osborne. Hannah was on that call as well from Teammates. David, who's one of their coordinators from Teammates, and we were visiting. PayPal was so kind to block off time for their team, for their staff, to tap into this Zoom to learn more about Teammates and to recruit more. There's a saying that we have in sales, and I know you guys both all know this. The ABCs of sales means always be closing. ABC, always be closing. When it comes to volunteer organizations, I call it ABR, always be recruiting. You have always got to be recruiting new volunteers that have a passion to reinvest their time, treasures, and talents back in our youth and our community. And I understand the importance of it. And I'll talk more about that throughout. But it's important that we get people out, because young people today, when you think about this, and I said this before, when young people, when we were all in high school, even Big Sky, not Big Sky, he's Deuce, he's 22.
Yeah.
He grew up in this, the cell phone generation, if you would. When I came home from school, I got my backpack right down here, or my duffel bag. When I came home from school, I could set that backpack down or that duffel bag down, and I was done with school for the most part, with the exception of homework. Students today, even when they get home, if there was something jumped off at school, they have these cell phones. They have Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. I can go on and on and on Twitter, to where whatever beef that was happening at school, whatever discomfort was happening at school, whatever bullying that was happening, it comes home with them. So unless they actually turn the phone off, it never goes off. I bring that up for this simple reason. Then you add in the pandemic that we're going through. I have an 18-year-old daughter who's a senior. I'm 17-year-old daughter that's at Southwest, and little AD, my oldest son is in his law school at university. Other son Keenan is a senior at the university. remote learning and the mental fatigue that they're under, not counting the teachers, professors, nurses, first line work, just everyday people. People are tired. Now bring this to the mind of a 16, 17, 15-year-old. They need some outlets. Teammates provides an amazing outlet for these students just to vent, just to have a conversation, just to talk.
Just be present.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There's so many adults that just think of yourself at 16, think of yourself at 12, and now add all the things, all of the additional things that impact their day that have nothing to do with anything that they should be focused on at that point. And all we're talking about is for folks to step up and give 1 hour of their time just to be a sounding board, to look somebody in the eye, to smile when they smile at you, to laugh when they say something funny, and to hear them. And just do it on a regular basis. Nothing, it doesn't cut no money out of your pocket. It's not what's required. Your presence is required.
That's it. You bring up a good point. Just look them in their eye. And we got a great guest coming on here in about 2 minutes. I'll get to his name in a second. But I remember when I was coming to Nebraska, and Coach Brown and Coach Osborne told me that our recruiting class was going to be. You kind of look at the charts, the markers, if you would. Riley Washington, who we had on a guest in our first week 3 weeks ago, ran the fastest 100 meters in the nation. I'm the youngest out of 6 kids, and I couldn't even beat my sisters or my brothers in the 100 meters. And he was the fastest in the nation.
I can relate to that.
You can relate to that.
my brother was an Olympic sprinter.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So as fast as I thought I was running, I'm still, and I know for a fact that I was never faster than my mother.
I know that feeling.
So,
been there, done that.
Been there, done that, Raff.
Yep, my mom could fly.
Right? Right? Like there is no faster creature on the planet than a mom with a purpose.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I understand.
So this is, those things don't matter when it comes to being a mentor and being a teammate. We don't care about your athletic ability or lack thereof. We just need you to be present and a willing heart and mind to do so. And our first guest after our first break, I want to make sure I'm all right on that mixed guy with our first break. When we come back from this first break, we have former wingback Clester Johnson, who also was all-world, was an all-world quarterback coming out of high school at Bellevue West. Also was one of the most ferocious blockers we ever heard play at Nebraska. We're going to wrap with him, catch up with him, talk about the importance with mentoring. Nebraska way has taught him about how we did things in Nebraska, how we mentored each other, where he's at now, and to get some wisdom from him. So again, this is Riffin with Raff and AD. We'll be back with you in a few minutes.
Now what do? Football is over. The weather's crappy. Man, I tell you what, it's a perfect time to go car shopping. This is Carl from Price Right Auto. Come out to Price Right in Westo, and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. With our non-commissioned sales process, we let you control the sale. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our peace of mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on Westo Street at Price Right Auto.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets. Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations? Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
Winter is upon us. Is your home prepared? If your furnace isn't keeping up or you've thought about replacing it, John Henry's has a new year, new unit special. When you purchase a select heating and cooling system from John Henry's, we will give you the furnace for free. There are also equipment and LES rebates up to an additional $850. This offer expires February 28th, so don't miss out. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give
John Henry's
a call or text today.
435-5555.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Have you been told your furnace has a cracked heat exchanger? Before you spend money needlessly, call Bryant for a free second opinion. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111.
Now back to Riffin with Raff and AD on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we are back, riffing with Raff and AD on this Wednesday night. It's about that time, AD, we get to our first guest of the night. What do you think?
I'm excited, Raff. This is a friend that I've known, more like a brother that I've known since we were in high school, and it shows you over the years how fast that time goes. Clester Johnson, former Nebraska wingback. Clester, do we got you on right now, brother?
I'm here on time.
I hear you, Clester. Clester, how you doing, sir?
Man, blessed and highly favored, and feeling good. We both have a birthday coming up here soon, so it's unbelievable to see that we are pushing up on 50.
I beg to differ. Actually, you're pushing up on 50, brother. Let's get that straight. I've got a few left. But yes, I'm
embracing it, though.
Yeah, it is, man. Feeling, it's the thing about it, Clester. You obviously don't look like you're close to 50. Your body, you're still in great shape. You take care of yourself. Clester, what are you doing now? What is Clester Johnson doing right now? What's Clester's life like today?
Well, things. I'm a huge believer in the self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm a huge believer in speaking things into existence and just the power of positive thinking. I'm currently still in the drug game. I'm a legal drug dealer.
I was going to say, let's clarify that for the audience, please. They're thinking Nino Brown.
I've been in biotech and pharmaceutical for about 22 years. Currently with Biogen. I'm in rare disease. So, that's what I do for work. And then, I would say my number one job is a strong supporter and advocate of my children. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I do. I still live in, Papillion. I live in Papillion, Nebraska. Just, blessed, blessed. We just built a brand new home and, hey, Clef is living good.
Yes, he is.
I can't complain.
Clester, it's funny when I was when I was putting these notes together, just for talking points. I know Raff has got some as well. I'm gonna let Raff throw the first one at you, but I've got a lot to get to in a short amount of time because, like I told you, we don't want to take up a lot of your time. But you were such an integral part of our runs in those 90s, and from a number of ways, and we'll get into. But I'll let Raff start opening up right here.
Hey, Cluster, what's up, brother?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Pretty good. My first question I got for you tonight is, being that National Mentors Month we got going on right now, and having the Mentors Hour, the Teammates Hour before this, I was wondering, when you first came to Nebraska, was there somebody class or maybe class 2 or 3 ahead that kind of took you under their wing and kind of showed you the way when you first got down to the university?
Absolutely. I think it's natural for us to get to college and just kind of fall in under the wing of the guys who you look up to, and that's primarily obviously the older guys. And you just kind of watch and see how some of them are living. You know, obviously some of them are living great role models and people that you want to be like, and some of them, you know, obviously are still trying to find their way. And I think we all go through that period of time when we're trying to grow as young men and just trying to find our way through life. And eventually, you know, having a strong supporter and a guy like Coach Osborne and Coach Brown at the time, you know, these were great men to look up to and just kind of model yourself behind of what you want to be like and how you want to treat people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
you know,
yeah.
Cluster, you even think about it, you answered it beautifully, because that was the Nebraska way. And what you mentioned, and when I got there, a year after what you did, you guys taught us how you practiced, how you lifted weights, how you went about your business, because we really believed, and it was instilled in us, how you do some things is how you do everything. And, you know, but, you know, for you as a guy, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Cluster, I didn't even realize you did some of this stuff when we grew up together, because, you know, that was just my boy Tank, as we all called him, Tank. That was just Tank. You didn't think about it, because number one, you weren't walking around bragging about it. But I did not realize, you know, some of the accolades you had, you know, that you not had, but have, you know, obviously an all-state quarterback, threw for 3,700 yards, 3,757 yards, rushed for 712, 36 touchdowns. I mean, there's some folks that play football from kindergarten to college that don't have 36 touchdowns. You know, you did that just in a high school career. You're a Lincoln Journal Star Prep, Omaha World Hail Prep Athlete of the Year, 2-time All-Stater, Gatorade Nebraska Player of the Year as a senior, and earned Super Prep Magazine All-America honors. I didn't realize the All-America part. You're a gold medal at the state track meet in 300-meter hurdles, second in 110s. Then you flipped it and did vice versa, and also was a runner-up in state for wrestling. With all of that said, and there's many more accolades I could go, here's what I want to switch to. As you're, you know, approaching that half a century mark. That's kind of crazy to put it like that, isn't it, bro? To reach the big 5-0. All right. Cluster, have you thought back? And I know you're busy, because that's just not who you are. But do you ever find yourself looking back when you've attended your son's games, which we'll get into things like that later, and looking at some of the many records that you have on those walls and be like, dang.
Well,
that was pretty
not
special.
so fast. And I do think back now, because now I have adult children who think that they are the shiznits. And so I have to sometimes give them a reminder. Now, it's all in good fun.
Right.
It's all in fun, because when you have a competitive household, that's just what happens. You get around the table, you're playing cards, you're just doing, you know, we love to go to the gun range. We go golfing. You know, we just do a lot of different things. And within those things, it's just going to be a natural competition. So each one of us have something that we like to brag about. and it's actually just good fun. And right now, Cade, he thinks he has the advantage because he's on an NFL roster. So he's like, nobody went to the NFL.
And I assume it gets very quiet at that point.
Yeah, Kane just kind of shut it all down. He shut everybody down. So I had to give him his props on that one. But I just want to tell you a quick story about what really kind of turned it around for me. I would say going from a boy to a man at Nebraska there was a moment in time when I got to Nebraska, like you just read off all those accolades, Aaron. And you can probably identify with this because if you came to Nebraska, you probably had a pretty good high school career, yourself included. You did great things and you were the man coming from your school, your high school. But then you get to Nebraska and you realize that everybody was the man.
That's a good point.
Who you're competing against. So then it becomes very mental. It becomes very, who's going to buckle down and prioritize why they are there. Wow. And I'm going to tell you what, I missed the mark when I first got there. I really missed the mark for the first couple of years. And I really had to figure out what I was there for. I mean, was I there for the women, the partying? Was I there for, having a good time? Or was I there to go to school, get my education, and play some football? And Coach Osborne gave I would never forget, right before we won our first championship, he gave a speech maybe a summer or two before we won our first championship. And he just asked us all to reevaluate yourselves. He's like, listen, you can lie to us. You can lie to your friends, but you can't lie to yourself. And I just remembered him talking in this auditorium, and I was just saying to myself, is he talking to me? He must have been watching me. he must have been at home with me, seeing what I'm doing. Because, right when he said, evaluate the people that you hang out with. Are you doing good at school? Are you in your playbook? Listen, if you can't say unequivocally yes to all those things, that you're doing the right things, then you're not maximizing who you can be as a player and as a human being. And I remember instantly there was bubbles popping up in my head of people I needed to not be around, who I felt was dragging me. And then I wasn't doing great in school, and I just wasn't spending no time in the playbook. And I just remember when I decided to dedicate my time, more energy to those things, I mean, that's when I started playing.
Cluster, I remember that because I think that was 92 when we came in, and Nebraska had just been knocking on the doorsteps, of just really breaking into being a perennial powerhouse. And we were always relevant, but I mean, really taking it to that next level. And I remember all of us sitting there, we were just freshmen, and that was your sophomore year, redshirt freshman year, basically. And the intensity was something like my freshman year, we were baptized into fire, because when Coach made that speech, I mean, it was just a whole nother level of intensity, dedication. And although we didn't win it that year, we were in the mix. They had Charlie Ward and those guys. We played it again in 93. But to your point, though, he really made us really evaluate, are you really maximizing your God-given talents and abilities in every area?
Absolutely.
And like you said, it was classic Coach Osborne, Nostradamus. He just knew things. You thought he was talking to you. It was like a good sermon in church. It's like, is the pastor talking to me right now? What? But he just had that ability, the innate ability to read people and to read things.
Yeah, I would say the thing that hit home to me the most is, and it's really kind of crazy that he would say something like this, but it resonated with me. He said, there are 150 players on this team. Not everybody is here to do well. There's not everybody here don't have the same goals. There's people here that are just really not here to be the best football player they could be. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. Statistically, that's how it is. But if we can get more guys thinking that way, if we can get more guys going in the right direction, we're going to be a championship football team. We're going to go to that next level. And I just remember going, man, you know what? There are some guys who are like, they don't really care about football. They just want to be on the team. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They want to, they want to be a part of it, but they don't want to put in that work to what it takes. And yeah, man, I clearly remember those conversations.
All right. We're here with Cluster Johnson. You can call in to us on the Honda Lincoln hotline at 402-464-5685, or you can also text if you have any questions for Cluster at the Starter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. Cluster, another question for you. I was wondering, what is your most memorable football moment at Nebraska? Excluding the national title games, of course, but is there any other games that stick out to you as very memorable?
I would say probably K-State game in '94, when I think a lot of people kind of talk about that when we lose Tommy Frazier to blood clots and we lose Brooke Behringer. You know, we lose our top two quarterbacks, and I just remember being in the locker room saying to myself, here you got a hungry K-State team that hadn't beaten Nebraska in 20-something years, and they're at home. The crowd is crazy, and I will never forget the speech that Ed Stewart gave in the locker room. And at the end of his speech, he just said, K-State is still K-State, and we just went crazy. He went crazy. He was just like, they beat us in 20-something years. K-State is still K-State. Man, we went out the door, and I just knew we weren't going to lose. I mean, we could have had my grandma at quarterback. We would have won.
So
we were going to win that game.
Before that week before that game, did you take any reps at practice to play quarterback?
Yeah, so that was another part. And I'm going to tell you, I was not real happy about it because I felt like I'd made the transition to wingback, and I was just starting to solidify myself with Abdul. You know, the year before, you know, I got my feet wet. I was doing very well, and then this next year, I'm like, okay, we're ranked high, and I'm a big part of this. And now Coach Osborne asking me to play quarterback. Initially, I was just like, you know, I don't know if I can do this. And, you know, they had me running probably about 10, 15 plays that they thought that I would do well at and felt comfortable doing. I probably had 2 or 3 pass plays that I thought I could do. And I was already a pretty good runner. But fortunately, Matt Turman was able to come in and give us a good half. And then Brooke came in and, you know, finished it off. So,
you know, that game there, Cluster,
never needed me.
You know, when you think about it, though, and that was a brutal game. That's when LP had it was just smash mouth. Bring yourself in as literally. I mean, you were the epitome of how you block at Nebraska. How did you make that transition from, okay, I'm scoring touchdowns? Because first of all, it was genius by Coach Osborne and the coaching staff to say, listen, folks, we have a former Super Prep All-American that's playing wingback who's a Super Prep All-American that played quarterback. He can be serviceable, you know?
Yeah.
Pun intended. He would be a great quarterback.
Yeah.
He's hadn't done it so long. And like you said, you'd spent so many time and energy getting to solidify yourself at wingback. Yeah. How was it for you making that transition? Because when you came to Nebraska, you were recruited as a quarterback.
Yeah.
You also had Tony Veland in that same class, you know,
and Brooke Behringer.
Brooke Behringer in that same class. Yeah. A year later, Ben Roots comes and Tommy Frazier comes. Yeah. How did you was it tough for you to make the transition to wingback, or was it like, look, I want to get on the field and play?
Absolutely.
Talk to
Aaron,
us about
that's
that.
A great question. Absolutely great question. Because quarterback is more finesse. You know, it's more of a finesse position. Like you're not being maybe as physical. Now at Nebraska, obviously the quarterback is a little bit more physical, but you still have to be careful. Now, when you go to wingback, that's probably the most physical skill position, I thought at the time. And you really had to take pride in blocking. And I thought Coach Brown obviously had to use Jedi mind tricks on the receivers to to make us feel and believe that blocking was just as important as catching a 50-yard touchdown. And I mean, he had me convinced. I can tell you that much because they really started to recognize us and give us some love for the 60 and 70-yard runs and the 40-yard runs that the running backs would have. They would really display what the things we did down the field and the perimeter blocking, the stop blocking, the cut blocking. And then we just started getting a reputation for scaring off the DBs. And, you know, by the third quarter, you could just tell that their legs were dead and they just didn't want to engage no more. They didn't want to be physical anymore. And we won. So, I mean, once we started chopping them down and just being up in their grill the whole game, you know, Coach Osborne, Coach Brown, they would start to show that stuff on the film. And I remember after I was gone, I would talk to a few of the receivers that came after me, and he would say, "Man, Coach Brown would use you and John Vedro and Gerald Armstrong. He would show you guys his blocking tapes,
killers
on what you did and what it took and what it's supposed to look like." And that made me feel like, okay, I left an impact.
Cluster, you left more of an impact. You know, me, I always say I got in when we were up 30 points with 30 seconds left, and P.O. be like, "You didn't get in there." This was second quarter. I don't know who the heck we were playing. It was an early season game. You took a dude clear out by me on the sideline. I was like, "How you doing, bro?" You know what I mean? You brought him. Physically would dominate teams that much. And like you mentioned, Coach Osborne and Coach Brown were amazing sales guys because they made us buy in and convinced us to buy in that if you do your part of this, the other parts will take care of themselves and we will win big games. And I remember Coach Brown, I know you remember this because we both played the same position. I was receiver, your wingback. He would always tell us, remember, Cluster, punish the perimeter. And when you started to buy into that, I mean, we became like sharks in water. And when there was blood, I mean, you couldn't wait to take somebody out. And like you mentioned, by about the mid-third quarter is when I started to stretch because I knew I was going to get in because those guys were tired of getting hit. They were tired of getting hit, you know.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Aaron, what really kind of changed my mentality was Coach Brown made an example out of me. Because like you said, I had to make a mental transition from being a kind of a finesse player to a more physical player. And the example he made out of me was, you know that they record everything.
Eye in the sky.
They record practice. They record field goals. They record kickoff. I mean, they record everything, one-on-ones. We watched that stuff the next day. Well, we had a scrimmage. And just like a little mini scrimmage. It wasn't something major, but it's just in my mind, I guess I wasn't really thinking about they recording this, right? And receivers had to double read sometimes. You know what that means, Aaron, double read.
Yep.
So when you're running an option your way, you're gonna block who's gonna attack the play. Either the corner is gonna bail out like on a cover 9 or something, or the safety's going to come up and try to field. So if the safety's getting there before the corner, you know who to block. Well, in our scrimmage, I was just extra soft. I mean, I wasn't blocking nobody because in my mind, I'm like, man, there's my buddies over there. Like, do I punish my buddies? You know, there's Troy Dumas over there. There's Doug Coleman. There's all these guys that I came in with, and I was just like sort of Aaron Miles. I was just sort of afraid to hurt them. In my mind, I was like, I can't hit them like I want to hit them. Well, Coach Brown, I went in there and very softly hit Troy Dumas, who's the biggest, most physical safety.
Oh, huge.
I just bounced off of him and he blew the play up. Just blew the play completely up. And Coach Brown runs the play 10 times. 10 times. Like, who is this up here? Like who is this guy? Like, Aaron, he knew exactly who it was, right? Like, who is this guy at the top? I mean, I can't put this guy in the game. Who is that? So he totally made an example of me. So from that day forward, I said to myself, I said, listen, it's business is not personal.
Right.
And I remember I went to the defense. I went to all those guys. And I said, listen, I got to let y'all know something. I'm coming hard and I'm coming furious from this day forward because I will never be embarrassed like that again. I'm never going to let that happen to me again. So that's really what turned it around for me, Aaron, was Coach Brown rewinding that play 10 times and everybody in the room like, damn, you soft. Like, look at you. So nobody, if you play football on that level, the very worst insult you can ever get is you're soft.
Right.
Nobody ever wants to be labeled as a soft player. So I knew right away I had to change that impression that people had of me, that I was soft. And then I mean, from that point on, that's why, Aaron, when you saw me in games, when you saw me driving people, I said, listen, we're going to watch this on film. And one thing they're going to see from me is that I'm here to take people's necks off.
Absolutely.
That's what
Cluster,
happened.
see, you get me hyped up, ready to go run through a wall, but my back's too messed up, so I can't. But I'll tell you what, Cluster, if you can stay with us until this next commercial, we'll wrap it up and we come right back with you. We'll be able to stay with you, bet. We'll come right back on
Let's
that,
do
Cluster.
Hi, welcome to Big Chain Bar and Grill. Can I get you a drink? Which game were you hoping to see? Doesn't matter. I don't know what channel the game's on anyway. Are you ready to order? Okay, here's your check. Come back and see us again, okay?
What?
Hey, welcome back into Upside.
Slow down and enjoy the game at the Upside Bar and Lounge. Comfortable seating, plenty of screens, a great food and drink menu, and no one trying to shove you out the door. Come in, hang out, and take it all in at the Upside Bar and Lounge, open daily just east of 27th and Pine Lake.
Working at Continental of Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljob.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations. Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you. Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
Now what do? Football is over. The weather's crappy. Man, I tell you what, it's a perfect time to go car shopping. This is Carl from Price Right Auto. Come out to Price Right in Westo and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. With our non-commissioned sales process, we let you control the sale. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on Westo Street at Price Right Auto.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Winter is upon us. Is your home prepared? If your furnace isn't keeping up or you've thought about replacing it, John Henry's has a new year, new unit special. When you purchase a select heating and cooling system from John Henry's, we will give you the furnace for free. There are also equipment and LES rebates up to an additional $850. This offer expires February 28th, so don't miss out. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give John Henry's a call or text today.
435-5555. These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your NTV First Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cold. Lows of -1. Another cold day for Thursday. Sunshine, a high of 17. Lows tomorrow night, 4 above. I'm MTV Chief Forecaster Ken Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Now back to Riffin with Raff and AD on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back. Riffin with Raff and AD. We have Cluster Johnson on the line. Cluster, I got a question for you again. My next question I have for you. Who is the toughest defensive back that you went up against? Were there any guys that you're just like, you came out and you're like, yeah, probably not going to be getting by this guy today?
Did you, so are you saying playing against him or on my team?
Let's do both, playing against and on your team.
Oh, man, I was just trying to think. Playing against, man, I just, so the crazy thing is we have this, a play acting offense. So a lot of times we were in man coverage, and it was almost like the mentality of our opponent was obviously stop the run. So we were a lot of times a secondary thought. You know, we would be an afterthought. So a lot of times when you go back and look at a lot of our pass plays, I mean, we're wide open. So because you know, they're trying to come up and stop the run most of the time. But I remember, you know, obviously the Colorado games were always very spirited, very physical. You know, even though we would beat them, they were still very physical, very, very mouthy, and very competitive. And so I would say Colorado, but I clearly remember we played Washington State in Lincoln, and that was our closest game in '95. I mean, I think we only beat them by maybe 14, but they were extremely physical. So I would say it from a physicality standpoint, Washington State was probably number one, and Colorado be number two. If you go back and watch the Washington State game, I got hit 3 times. Like, I never got hit that hard in my whole career, and I got hit 3 times that game where I was like, they are not playing. There was 3 times I got hit in that game. I ran 2 reverses and I caught a pass, and every single time it was a very hard hit. Now playing against, I would say Baron Miles was probably the most savvy of the corners. I mean, he just knew how to anticipate very well. So you have to be very good with your body and, you know, just not let a quarterback look bad by getting it picked off, because he's going to go where you're going. For some reason, he just knew.
He was crafty.
He knew our pass patterns like it wasn't. I mean, like he was in the room with us, you know, going over the plays, and he also played that way. So I mean, Barron was just one of those guys who was very savvy. And another guy, probably, you know, again, when it comes to physical, Toby Wright. You know, Toby was just very physical. You didn't want to. You want to keep your head on a swivel when you're out there playing against him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
The guys you mentioned, I mean, they were just killers on the field. You know, Tyrone Williams was like a a tactical boxer. You know, Tyrone was very methodical how he covered you. Barron would take more chances and be like a cat, where Toby, he would do both and it just hit you in the mouth at the same time, you know. So he was like a all of them combined. Question, two more. I got to think. I want you to think about this. Talk about where you were head hunting. I want you to talk a little bit before we get to the next question. How fierce back in your scout team days with me before you left me down there and you continued on to progress up the depth chart. But remember before we played that Colorado game where they had Rashawn Salam, may rest in peace. They had Michael Westbrook and they had Cordell Stewart as a quarterback. Remember the scout team? We came in with Colorado decals on our scout team helmets and the black tights. Tell the audience how ferocious that week of practice was and how many fights and brawls there were.
You know, I remember, I would say probably before those guys, because I ended up obviously playing in that 94 game.
Yes.
I was now a part of the offense.
Yes.
I remember doing that because we started to do that every year to get them hyped.
To piss them off.
So coach let us put black tights. I mean, I remember putting black tights over my white pants and putting Colorado decals. And we looked like Colorado out there. And I'm going to tell you, it got very contentious at practice because they no longer viewed us as teammates.
Nope.
You know, they viewed us as the opposition. And it would get ugly in practice a lot. I mean, a lot of late hitting, a lot of throwing guys down after the play, just a lot of, you know, it just got you ready and it got you hyped. And I think that the guys, those first team guys, they really appreciated
That's right.
that feeling. You know, they appreciated us bringing that energy to them. You know, even though you wouldn't have thought so, I just remember those guys talking to us. I talked to a few of those guys like, man, that was pretty hype that y'all did that y'all came out there looking like that. And, man, those were some fun times, but, man, well, that got you ready.
It got you
It
ready.
got you ready to go into comeback.
It did. It did.
So, yeah.
Cluster, let's segue here a little bit. You raised some amazing kids, and to our listeners out there, Cluster's boys literally grew up with my boys. I mean, look at his boys like my godsons. I don't know it's vice versa, and it's a blessing to see how tight they are still to this day as men. You know, their different endeavors and journeys through life. You know, CJ, Cade, and Keegan. I mean, here are three outstanding football players. What was some of the advice that? How delicate was it that you have to tread when you didn't want it to be? You didn't want to overcoach. You didn't want to overparent. You didn't want to under. How was that balance of just saying, because you play the position that all three of them play at a very high level, how did you balance of just the advice you gave them, the mentoring, again, if you would? How did you balance that out without overstepping them and saying, oh, here's Pop's talking again about when he played?
Yeah.
But how did you do that? Because you did. First of all, you did a heck of a job because those are standing young men. How did you balance that?
Well, man, another great question by yourself, AD. Again, I'll say it again that the Davis family played an integral part in my boys having another great set of people to lean on, to be around, to be good influences. So, you know, on radio here, I want to thank you for that, Aaron, because my boys obviously respect you very highly.
And vice
so
versa.
As far as
I appreciate it, brother.
As far as myself, and what I did was, the number one thing is what I tell parents when people ask me that, because I do get that question. I've gotten that question enough over the years. Like, man, how did you do that? Well, I would just say this. If you're raising your kids to be D1 athletes, I feel sorry for the kids. I'm just going to say that right there. Because there's just no way you're going to be able to do that and have it go smoothly and then the kids are going to love it. So it's just not going to happen that way. So for me, my mentality was I just want to make sure the kids have fun first, especially as young kids. If you're treating little kids, you know, 6th grade, you know, from kindergarten up to 6th, whenever they started, if you're treating them like it's the national championship,
right,
and everything is on the line, they got to win this, then you're fooling yourself, and I feel bad for the kids. Okay, the number one thing I feel for when you're coaching these young kids, just make sure they have the love of the game
Mm-hmm.
and that they enjoy being out there first.
That's
okay.
a great point. Yeah.
Not all kids are going to develop into these great athletes. And
Right.
I know today as parents, everybody thinks that they got the greatest. You know, it's just natural. Everybody thinks they got the greatest kids, but they're the greatest athletes, they're the smartest kids. I'm a realist, okay? I am a realist. I try to be the ultimate realist. It wasn't until my kids got to sophomore, junior year until I said, you know what? I think they got a shot. I think they got a chance. Because I've just seen so many kids start off very well, looking so good, and they fizzle out. Maybe they don't grow anymore. Maybe they just kind of lose the passion. Maybe the parents were just on them so hard that they just were burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I never wanted to do that. I didn't want to burn the kids out. I just wanted them to continue to enjoy. And then it got to a point where I said, okay, listen, if this is something you want to do, let me tell you what I think you got missing, what I think you need to work on. If you really want to play big time college football, if you want to go D1 or whatever your aspiration is, here's what I think you're missing. And out of the three oldest boys, who you think listened to me the best? Aaron, who listened the best?
You know, I would.
If you had to choose.
Yes, I already know.
So I'm gonna say my child at Iowa is probably the one who really accepted the challenge of everything that I said.
Everything, literally.
Everything I said. So, he dedicated himself to the weight room. He dedicated himself to nutrition. He got the correct rest for his body so he could grow. Now, my son CJ was very naturally talented, but probably didn't love the game as much. He did it because he could do it, because he was good. He didn't have to put that much effort into it, and he was still good. If you look at CJ Johnson, he still has most of the receiving records for the state of Nebraska, and the kid probably, if he would have put in some real time, oh man, he would have. It would have. You would have. I mean, who knows where he could have gone? Is what I'm saying. But you have to accept those things sometimes and be okay. You can't just pound on the kid when the passion ain't there. And that was something I was willing to accept. Now, Cade loved the game, but probably was allergic to the weight room. Okay, he probably, his passion to maybe lift and things like that probably wasn't as high as it should have been. And both of them told Keegan, hey, tell Keegan, what would you have done different? Because they're 5 years apart. Cade and Keegan are 5 years apart. What would you have done different? Both of them said, dedicate my time to the weight room. They both told him that. And working on my body and working on, skill work and just trying to get ahead of the game. And I'm going to tell you, Keegan took that advice.
He did.
And Keegan came to me and said, hey, Dad, listen, I'm not going to be some great basketball player. So I would love to stop doing that because I can't gain weight like I want to. And I want to dedicate my time to lifting. I said, okay, listen, if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to play basketball, I fully expect for you to put the time in like you said. And he did. So, I mean, it was great. He lifted not only at high school, but he lifted outside of high school.
Yeah, he did.
I got him a membership at Genesis and a few other places. And man, he was constantly lifting. So it shows.
Custer, the thing that you've done for your boys and the tutelage you've given them and allowing CJ, who went to Wyoming, Cade, who is now with the Seattle Seahawks, went to South Dakota State, and obviously Keegan, that's at Iowa right now. In fact, I talked with Coach Ferentz just on Saturday night at the Remington Award, and he is just heads over heels about the work ethic of Keegan. And to see him on TV, it's just so cool to see how those kids have found their own journeys and the tutelage you gave them. So like you said, man, our families are intertwined, have always been since before the kids were born. In fact, I remember when when Cade was born, I was watching CJ, he was in the crib. You know, we were at the apartments. And I said, this kid has no idea what just took place, man. Plus, man, I can't tell you how fun this first hour was with you, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the wisdom. And, brother, we wish you continued success. We wish Keegan, Kate, and CJ continued success. And, brother, man, I can't tell you, the older we get, there's something that Coach Osborne told us. He goes, guys, the older you get, the more you're going to appreciate the relationships you had in this locker room. And, brother, you're definitely one of those. I miss you and appreciate you, and I appreciate those times, man. Appreciate you, Tank.
The feeling is mutual, and fellas, thanks for having me on. We're going to have to do it again.
We're definitely going to do it again, fellas. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Cluster.
Thank you, man.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatchback burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
Old School with DP and J.
I always try to tell athletes, be where your cleats are, be in the moment, play by play, possession by possession. That's what Nebraska's women's team does so well. That's why nothing changes. It doesn't matter who's in the game. With the men, that's if they took a little bit of more of that mentality, you would see it. And they've shown games that they've done it. I've seen you do it against, other teams and kind of give the game away. You've seen it on the NC State, play in the moment, continue to play, but then you see the complete opposite.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Now what do? Football is over. The weather's crappy. Man, I tell you what, it's a perfect time to go car shopping. This is Carl from Price Right Auto. Come out to Price Right in West Elk and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. With our non-commissioned sales process, we let you control the sale. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, pricerightauto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Working at Continental of Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations? Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL Weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your NTV First Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cold. Lows of -1. Another cold day for Thursday. Sunshine, a high of 17. Lows tomorrow night, 4 above. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Ken Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season.
Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season, enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome to Riffin with Raff and AD. Coming to you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Now here's former Huskers, Chris Raff and Aaron Davis.
All right, we are back here again, riffing with Raff and AD on this Wednesday night. AD, I got a question for you. I know, we've spoken about your mentors, some of your mentors in the past and stuff like that, Coach Osborne, but who are some of your other mentors?
Besides my dad, obviously, he was the biggest mentor for me. Just as I was fortunate to have mom and dad at home, so my dad was my biggest mentor. But when it comes to growing up in collegiate athletics, high school athletics, I can go all the way back to one of my first basketball coach, the late Frank Sheridan, that started small fry basketball at the Salvation Army Community Center off of 27th and Holdridge. And that would be me. And you think about small fry has been around since 1960 something, whatever it is, maybe before then, for sure in the 60s. The thousands of athletes that have played through that Salvation Army small fry basketball program. So Frank Sheridan was one early on, growing up. Mr. Willie Banks, he was my second grade teacher at Clinton Elementary School. He was a huge mentor. And I'm just going to kind of obviously the late Maddie Copeland, she was a 5th grade teacher. When you bring it back to athletics, though, I think back to even when Mr. George Nutt over at Keller Middle School, basketball coach, and one most recently that passed away, Coach Fred Richardson, God rest his soul. He had just passed away about a week after my dad did, just last year, November 28th. My father passed, and Coach Richardson passed away, I think, about a week or so. I don't even know if it was a week after my dad passed. So he was a longtime basketball coach at Keller Middle School. He had 2 sons that were great athletes at Northeast High School. Then I would go with, after then, Coach Sharp. Coach Sharp Sr. was my freshman football coach at Lincoln High. My freshman year of football, my first year of organized football was in 9th grade. Because my dad didn't allow us to play on Sundays because he was the pastor. He's like, how's that look? You out playing football? I'm in the pulpit, So long story short, football, I didn't play my first game of actually full equipment until I was a freshman. And so Coach Sharp was the one that actually switched me to receiver. He's seen how bad the arm was. He goes, son, I tell you what, how about we throw you the ball rather than you throwing the ball? So he made that move there my freshman year in high school, along with Coach Hitz. Was also our coach. Coach Sharenko was also one. And Coach Harold Simpson. Coach Simpson was our varsity football coach at Lincoln High when I was there, along with Coach Knoll, great mentors. Bill Zussman, the late Aldi Johnson. All of those guys played an integral part of my life growing up as an athlete, but also as a person. And you get to Nebraska, Coach Brown, to this day, Coach Brown, we still keep in very close touch to this day. It's good to see Coach Brown. He was there at Saturday night, gave the prayer for Dave Remington's award. And of coach, I've talked about Coach Osborne enough. All of those individuals and more planted seeds in my life in some shape or form that I can still see today at 40, almost 48 years old. And it was not a lot of time of investing that time with us, And again, we go back to the teammates. You want more information on teammates. Again, it's teammates.org. You can find out more about it. We've got them in several areas. Some areas are needing big time needing mentors right now. So again, go to teammates.org if you'd like to learn more about 1 hour of your time to invest in a young person's life. So all of those people, man, had huge impacts for me. Absolutely. How about you, bro?
How about me? Well, of course, you got the hero, the mentor, the legend, my dad.
You bet.
Throwing a shout out down to Houston tonight.
There you go.
I believe they're down with the grandkids listening. What's up, Calla? What's up, John Andrew? Just threw that out there for y'all. So you got my dad. then you got Dr. Chris Deibler at Pound. He was my freshman football coach. I mean, he's one of those people. I actually had him in junior high as a health teacher or whatever, but
oh wow,
in PE. Coach John Larson, sophomore football coach, winningest women's basketball coach in the history of Nebraska basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two that really stand out coach wise and stuff like that. College, you know, being down at the university, had a chance to be around, you know, Coach Solich and Jimmy Burrell, Tim Albin, Lance down at Kansas.
Absolutely.
So I've had a, you know, great opportunity. And then, you know, the one that really sticks out the most coaching wise is Dan Kindig, the women's gymnastics coach at Nebraska for 25 years. That was one that, you know, that would have been the unlikely pairing, but
yeah,
getting to meet him when I was in college and stuff like that, he's always there, you know. So, and I've just had the opportunity with him. He's through the years, you know, the gymnastics coaches that I've got a chance to meet, Tim Garrison at Kentucky, you know, Adrian Burde, Florida.
Raff, tell them this about even just how those relationships with mentoring have helped you out, the way that you were just like so close with the football program, the things you did for the football program, which have the relationships you have now. You and Lance LaPole, you know, Lance is the head coach at KU now. Was at Buffalo prior to here. What was the genesis of that relationship? How did that start?
He was the on-campus recruiting coordinator at Nebraska. Mm-hmm. To have been 2000. Frank's last couple of years. So I got to meet him. You know, told him, you know, very interested in football and stuff like that. And they had the coaches, what was it? Oh God, I forgot what bowl game it was. Liberty Bowl. Liberty. It was the one against Eli Manning. He always stole my bowl ring, is what I tell everybody. Independence Bowl, I believe it was.
Bowl. There you go.
So they let the coaches go. So he was in transition. Well, they needed somebody to come in and work the scout team, get all the cards ready and all that stuff for the scout. So we're kind of connected in a way, you know. Absolutely. You have your scout team, and I did the scout team cards and stuff like that. And after that, you know, I've always kept in touch with Lance, you know, every stop when he was at Wisconsin Whitewater, you know, I would always text him, congratulations on your title. He won 6 of them in like 8 years. Fastest coach in the history of college football to 100 wins.
It's insane.
And it's just, you know, and it's funny as you know, we've kept in touch, and just the families I've met at the University of Buffalo, you know, I've got, you know, great connections there, which eventually would like to get, you know, Tyree Jackson on. He's a tight end for the Eagles.
That'd be awesome.
Jarrett Patterson, running back for the Redskins, get them on here eventually, you know, see what their experiences have been like. So it's been a great little journey, and, you know, I cherish all the people that I've met along the way.
You know, this is going to sound cliche-ish, but it's the truth. You know, you throw a pebble, doesn't have to be a big impact, a pebble, you know, in the water, it's going to ripple a long way. I mean, you were fortunate and blessed enough to have enough people throw some pebbles in our lives.
Definitely.
We can still see the ripples of that. Folks, this is Riffin with Raff and AD. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we have another special guest for you, former tight end. In fact, I call him Touchdown. We'll get to his name here in a second, but it's Tom Banderas. I'm just going to tell you.
Bando.
Touchdown Bando. We'll be back with you after this break. Thank you very much.
Working at Continental of Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season. Enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations. Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you. Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your NTV First Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and cold. Lows of -1. Another cold day for Thursday. Sunshine, a high of 17. Lows tomorrow night, 4 above. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Ken Fountain for 93.7 The Ticket.
My name is Rebecca. I struggled with depression for years. I also smoked. That was my world. Finally, I realized that smoking wasn't helping me. It was making my life worse. So I took control and I quit. Now I'm able to run again and take walks with my grandkids. My tip is there's another world out there, and it's a beautiful place to be.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Have you been told your furnace has a cracked heat exchanger? Before you spend money needlessly, call Bryant for a free second opinion. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111.
Hi, welcome to Big Chain Bar and Grill. Can I get you a drink? Which game were you hoping to see? Doesn't matter. I don't know what channel the game's on anyway. Are you ready to order? Okay, here's your check. Come back and see us again, okay? What? Hey, welcome back into Upside.
Slow down and enjoy the game at the Upside Bar and Lounge. Comfortable seating, plenty of screens, a great food and drink menu, and no one trying to shove you out the door. Come in, hang out, and take it all in at the Upside Bar and Lounge, open daily just east of 27th and Pine Lake.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. You can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
Now back to Riffin with Raff and AD on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back again, riffing with Raff and AD on this Wednesday night. AD is dancing. I feel like it's not at the museum. And we are here now with former tight end for the University of Nebraska from 1985 to 1987. Spent a lot of time in the end zone, Mr. Tom Banderas. Tom, how are you tonight, brother?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. I just wanted to first say that, man, I'm so proud of you guys. You know, the riffing with Aff and AD, I absolutely love it. And we'll talk about me being on the third show a little bit later, but I'm very happy to be here tonight.
Bando, we appreciate it, man. You know, even hearing your voice, it cracks me because it's almost like I'm having a conversation like with you in person, you know, at one of our good spots down at Capital Cigar with, you know, Tony Goins and Austin Hill and those guys do a great job at Create Mini Vacation. And just to wrap, you know, just to talk, we talk business, but also just talk life. And so for you agreeing to do this, man, we really appreciate you doing it, bro. Man, Bando, what are you doing now, man? What's Bando's life like right now? Tell us about yourself, your family. Tell us about you, brother.
Oh, it's all good. You know, my proudest moment is, you know, being married to my wife, Amy, for 32 years. And we actually got married April 1st of 1989. And that is a true story, by the way. But every anniversary, I always tell her, I assure you that somebody somewhere owes me money because there's no way they thought Bando was going to be married for 32 years. But I got a beautiful daughter, Diane Banderas. She's up in Omaha. She's a graduate of UNO. She's really the number 2 man in charge up there at Explosive Edge, which, in my opinion, is the number 1 training facility in Omaha for sure. And then Josh, he's kind of known from the football world, but he was just out at he's starting his coaching career, and he was out here at Oregon State this past fall. So
that's awesome.
He's got some exciting stuff going, and so he's just going to grind that out. But he'll be a great coach one day. And then Anthony, he's 21. He's just kind of wrapping up school, and he's going to kind of be the heir apparent to the insurance business that I've been in for 32 years here locally. That's been as equally fantastic as marriage, as far as I've been with him for 32 years, and quite frankly, it's really the only job I've really ever had. So everything's been real good for me. I love it here in Lincoln. Amy was a Southeast girl, so I just stayed, and I call it home now, even though I'm originally from KCMO.
Absolutely. Ben, I want to think about Amy and you guys together for 32 years. It blows me away in that I still see you as touchdown Tom Bendo. I still see Diane as a little girl, with that long brown hair. I still see Josh and Anthony just like little boys, and now they're all grown adults. And so kudos to you and Amy. You guys have done a heck of a job with those 3 kids, but I've seen that firsthand. Our kids obviously went to the same high school, but your kids were older than mine by a few years. But I've watched them grow up like right in front of me, to see the success they're happening right now. Man, big congrats to you and Amy, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Tommy, got a question for you, brother man.
All right.
So you're down, you said you grew up down in KCMO, I believe. Was it Oak Grove, Missouri, to be precise? Is that?
Yeah, Oak Grove, a little bit east of the stadiums there on I-70.
All right. So what or who brought you to Nebraska? How does that story begin?
Well, Coach McBride, actually. Coach McBride was my recruiter. He was actually recruiting me as a defensive end, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, so he was my main recruiter. And then, Coach Osborne, come down to put the hammer down. But, my dad and Charlie were really, birds of a feather, I guess you could say. So those two thought alike, and they'd probably run around if they knew each other when they were younger and things like that. But yeah, they just hit it off. And, I really wasn't a big college fan. I was a pro football fan, and, I really didn't even think about college. It's crazy how these kids are today with the Twitters and the likes, and, these guys are all blown up before they get here. We didn't have any of that. We had some local, Midwest magazines and things like that. So, this recruiting was a little bit different. I mean, it was snail mail, and you got letters in the mail, and, if you could catch somebody on the phone and things like that. So I didn't even really think about any of that. My high school coach kind of kept all the letters my junior year. And then finally going into my senior year of high school, he sat my dad and I down and brought out a couple shoe boxes full of letters, and I'm sitting there going, man, these people want me to come play football, and then all of a sudden the recruiters started coming around, like Charlie and, Jerry Faust from Notre Dame. And, I was sitting there a little stunned because, we didn't have social media. I just didn't even think about it. I mean, we were just playing football, or track or basketball, whatever the season was when you're in high school. So it got real quick. But so I did a little bit of research, and of course, my goodness, I mean, the Big Red was awesome. I started doing the research of 80, 81, 82, and Coach Osborne came down and sat at the table, and my dad said, I just think that kind of seems like a no-brainer to go up there to Nebraska. So that's kind of how it just shook down. I mean, Missouri thought that they had me all locked up, but that wasn't even close. I mean, Oklahoma actually was my second pick.
Oh, wow.
And then Colorado was actually my third. Bill McCartney was a heck of a recruiter. That was his first year.
Tell me some about that with McCartney. That was an interesting story. You bring that up. Remember you remember this, Bando? Remember he circled when he first got the job at Colorado. They were kind of they were the doormat. The Big Eight. No one. I mean, you went to Colorado to ski. You didn't go there to play football. Even that
Right.
Bronco team was actually good during those days. That's Raff's squad, the Broncos. So I had to throw that in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That was the only thing going on in Colorado besides the mountains was the Broncos, because it sure as heck wasn't Colorado State. It wasn't CU. But, McCartney, people can say what they want, but the man did it. He did a phenomenal job at bringing them from a doormat to a powerhouse, because he put Nebraska, circled it in red, and to say, you know what? We don't have a rival. We're going to make the neighboring state to the east our rival, and it's going to be Nebraska. And people are like, dude, you guys are night and day from them. Bendo, how did he recruit you? What made you even think about Colorado?
I mean, the guy was just mesmerizing. I mean, he really, really was. I mean, this, like you said, this was a doormat. When I did the research on Colorado, I'm like, this is nuts outside of going there on a little trip, and the view was beautiful. But other than that, that's about it. But this Bill McCartney had some type of a magnetism about him. I mean, I really don't know what it was, but, I had them ahead of some really big schools, and people were looking at me like I was nuts. Now I would have been on the tail. But basically, it would have not been good with win-loss record, because they really kind of got good kind of those years after I left, those next 2 to 3 years primarily. But I'm not so sure. Didn't they upset? I think they upset us in 1986, and at the time we were ranked 2 or 3 in the country.
Yeah, I remember
So,
that too.
Yeah, they pulled off a big upset, and no, there was just something about that Bill McCartney. I mean, I still think he was a very, very good coach. I mean, boy, he brought them to some prominence, and I have no idea what happened to him after, he left Colorado. But yeah, he was something else. He was just very mesmerizing, I would say.
He was. Well, let me ask you this. What was it about Coach McBride and Coach Osborne that made you decide over Nebraska? Because, Oklahoma, even during your day, it was back and forth type games, the Sooner Magic, that stupid song, that gave me nightmares as a kid. You could have easily flourished that. You think about the tight ends they had there, Keith Jackson, the quarterbacks, Jamil Holloway, the fleet-footed receivers, Collins and Spencer Tillman, all those guys. What made you decide over Nebraska over Barry Switzer?
Well, even this Charles Thompson, this new recruit we got out of the portal, his dad was their quarterback in 1987, my senior year. But, I don't know that, Coach Osborne, of course, Charlie was just, like I said, just like my dad, kind of that blue collar feel for me. And I'm used to that. I like that. So I really got along with Charlie. And then, when the stoic Coach Osborne came in, he just commanded respect. And, it just, like I said, when I did my research, I just, thought that there was just a no-brainer for me to come up here. Proximity as well. My dad was within 3 hours and was going to be able to, watch most of the games, just drive up and things like that. So, I mean, it was just, just like I said, reading on them and one of the best teams in the country and the crowds, every week, the sellout streak. I mean, all that stuff just started to resonate. And, it was something else. My recruiting visit, I always like to tell this story. But I came up here for that 1982 Nebraska, Oklahoma, right down here. Oh, wow. And, of course, I had all the local colleges, like everybody, Central Missouri State, they wanted me to come play football and throw, shot and disc for them. And so, that was just, one of the letters the coach had called me all the time. But I came up here for that recruiting visit, and, they had this big guy named Marcus Dupree, and they had the field, Aaron, you'll remember, still had a little bit of a dome on it.
Yes.
Now it's flat, but we're down there in the northeast corner, and Oklahoma's going, I would say going north on us about the 25, and they run this big power pitch play over to our sideline. Couple guards, Marcus Dupree, here comes the black shirt. We all get blown back up to the fence. And this Marcus Dupree gets up, and I'm sitting there looking at the other recruits going, oh, my goodness, that's a running back? And so, we all calmed down. I think we lost that game. I got on hold of my dad later that night. And he goes, what do you think, son? You don't think it's going to be a good deal? I said, Dad, I don't know. I think I might have to go to Central Missouri State because this running back is better than me. And so, yeah, we got a chuckle out of it. And then, we got over that and quite came up and, ended up having what I thought was a nice career. And we had some real nice teams in those years.
Absolutely.
So Bandel, I was doing some studying earlier today, and I saw that you were an Allstate Kicker. Is that true?
It is. It is. I actually was an All-State tight end, defensive end, and a kicker. Believe it or not.
In 3 positions?
Yeah, 3 positions, and I actually have the square-toed shoe, the Lou Groza. So it was quite the sight. Yeah, no, it was. But yeah, I kicked. I did not punt, but I was a kicker. As a matter of fact, an All-State kicker.
Wow. To our listeners under 30, his kicking shoe, that he's called the Lou Groza, that's not a foot disease or anything. That was an actual person. So I just want to put that out there, Bando.
Right. Yeah, Lou Groza wore the square-toed shoe on the front.
That's
Now,
right.
now they do the soccer style. This was a straight-ahead, square-toed shoe, and yeah, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. I had some big kicks against some teams. One to win a quarterfinal game, and I don't know if you remember a guy named Thurman Hoskins. He was a scholarship running back out of Lathrop, Missouri. Thurman was a stud. He just kind of got himself into a little bit of trouble.
I remember that name. Absolutely.
He only stayed a couple of years, but yeah, we beat them in a quarterfinal game, and that was pretty fun. But it was from a kick.
Bendo, I think about your career, and you had, from what I understand, 16 catches for 10 touchdowns? I mean, almost every time you caught the ball, it was the kid, Steve Taylor, was hitting you down the line. Who else was quarterback with you doing that? It was Steve Taylor?
Blakeman.
And Cleet Blakeman, who's reffing right now.
Between Steve and Blakeman, yeah, they threw me those 10 touchdowns. And it was funny. I always used to tell them, I said, I prefer to be in the end zone when you throw it to me. I don't want to be getting in no foot race out there with these guys, these running backs and all that.
So what's
no, yeah, it worked out pretty good. You knew we blocked. I mean, hell, a good stat line for kid would be, 8 out of 11 for, 101 yards, but we'd rush for 352.
Right.
Things like that. So yeah, for me to be able to catch that many balls, I could have went to Missouri and probably had 50 balls a game. I mean, Warren Powers said, "Hey, we're going to get you the ball." I'd have been about probably 235, 240 here. I was 250, 255 because, I was just really a glorified guard out there. But yeah, it was a treat to catch the ball once in a while.
So what do you remember the play call, like the one you knew when they made the play call, green light, touchdown Tommy in the house? Was there any
any bootleg pass? I mean, I think if I could do a compilation of the touchdown passes that when we used to run the 41, 49 bootleg pass, I mean, the tight ends are just walking right open. I mean, Milliken and Todd Frayne and Junior Miller, Mitch Crank, Big Jamie Williams. I mean, the high percentage of completion and a high percentage of touchdowns. I mean, it was amazing. I always told Kid that if he threw the ball more, he'd have so many more passing records, but he liked to scramble. He always, at one time, he was the leading rusher. And I go, yeah, that's because we were blocking for you. But, so no, oh yeah, Kid he was young. That's what I always call him Kid because he was young the first time they got in that huddle, and, but no, he had obviously a great career and we had a lot of good times.
And, to the folks that are listening out there, that's former All-American Steve Taylor, who's referred to as the kid that was younger than Tom Banderas and Cleet Blakeman, of course. But the kid, yeah, he used to love to scramble, man. He used to love to scramble. And a lot of times you were open on those plays because, like Cluster, our first guest was talking about, we would beat teams up so much with ISOs and play actions and option. And those linebackers, as you know, that you were tangled with all the time, they'd keep sneaking up further and further and closer to the line of scrimmage. And it was one play action. They're biting. Next thing you know, Bando's running wide open 35 yards, 25 yards down the field to pay dirt. So the play action was beautiful, which kind of leads me to my next question here. Bando, we've just got 2 quarterbacks, very high profile quarterbacks, out of the portal. Thompson's son and Chubba Purdy. That's a name from the South. Chubba Purdy. He's Chubba Purdy.
Yeah, I love it.
You had 2 great quarterbacks, and I think I'm gonna say this. I think Nebraska fans, after a person is gone, they appreciate them when they're gone. And I'm not getting to the pros or cons, but I'm just simply saying from our show, we just like to just kind of keep it up somewhat objective, but also bring in some, just some opinions. I thought Martinez Adrian was the guy had heart. There's no one that can deny the heart that guy brought out every single time he played. You know, broken jaws, no one knew about that. You know, shoulders, knees, etc. But you know what? God bless him. He's on to his next venture there at K-State right now. These two new guys, how important is it to have a quarterback, whoever that starter is this year, to come in and to command the respect and also the playbook? You know, obviously we don't know what that's going to look like right now with Whipple coming in, new offensive coordinator, Mickey Joseph obviously coming back home, if you would, as the receivers coach. How important is that quarterback position going to be?
Oh, you know, I don't care if we're talking about this the other day. I don't care if you're talking midget football, who I used to coach out here on South Street over here. You know, the quarterback's the most important position on every team, right? I don't care if we're talking midget football, junior high football, JV, varsity, college, pro. You know, you knock out Brady or you knock out Mahomes, it's a different game. You know, so the quarterback has to be the main man on the team. You know, he has to believe he's the main man on the team. And I actually like him. I like bringing these two dudes in out of the portal. And I'll tell you why. You know, back in our day, we were good because we had so much internal competition that you had to excel. If you don't have your 1 and your 2 and your 3, your ABC player, if they're not all good, you're going to start lacking somewhere in the game. You know, you have to have intense competition every time. Every year they were bringing in this new tight end who was going to be the next Junior Miller. Then the next year, here's the next Junior Miller. Then the next Junior Miller. You know, you have to compete. I mean, if you don't have anybody over your shoulder, it just don't matter. Now, look, Adrian did a great job. You know, it's hard to take the guy left it on the field. But he really didn't have any competition. So he knew that he was going to trot out there every week, no matter what. And that's going to change, I think, for certainly this year. And I want to see how that competition pans out. I mean, it can't bring anything out but good, in my opinion. You have to be deep and you have to be able to compete with the risk. If I don't play well for a couple games, I'm going to be on the bench.
That's right.
That's what keeps people sharp. And hopefully that's what we get. That's what we get down here this fall. And hopefully we can put something together because, look, I think we have talent. You know, we have as much talent as 7 or 8 teams on our schedule. We just have to put this stuff together, you know, and get it done. And that's what I always loved about Coach Osborne and our teams, you know, under him, because he was able to get everybody in the locker room together. Hey, did we have a couple of tumultuous situations? Yes. But, you know, Aaron, I always tell people that really what you see on the field on Saturday is only about 70% of really what's going on, because you can think about it. You got a locker room of 150, 160 kids from all over the United States, all different backgrounds, right? All different religions, all different income levels, education level. I mean, it's all over the board. So those championship teams, the coaching staff and everything, they can get those guys to work together, play together, live together, respect each other. That's your championship teams. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have them fitting together in that locker room together, you'll lose to the worst team in the NCAA.
That's right.
So 30% is what's going on off the field. 70% is what you see on Saturday. But if that 30% off the field isn't producing or not getting along, or that locker room's a little fragmented, it's going to show on Saturdays.
Absolutely.
So that's what we got to get back. You know,
I love it. That's a lot of wisdom that you're sharing there, man. And before Raff goes to the next one, you said some things. You said a lot of things, big bro. But when you mentioned internal competition where you got to have someone over your shoulder, and you said be deep and compete. Yeah, like you mentioned, if a guy doesn't, you know, and Cluster mentioned this, Cluster Johnson was sharing this on the first segment as well, just like knowing that you knew that you had to come compete every day. Every day you had to come to practice, compete. And not only that, if you don't want to compete, don't come to Nebraska. I mean, it can't be this thing where there's a signed, sealed, delivered sweetheart deal. And I know Coach Osborne never promised any kid anything other than an opportunity to compete.
That's it. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, we had talked a little bit before about even the respect, even amongst your unit, which I'll call mine the tight end.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I first got in there, I mean, you know, I had gotten to know a little bit of a Mitch Crank and a Jamie. They were older, but they didn't matter. If I was the tight end, They gave me respect down. Even though these dudes, I'm looking at these guys like, man, I'm never going to be able to do what they did, when I'm a punk freshman coming up here. And then Todd Frayne and Brian Heemer, they kind of looked out for me. Then I flipped it over, for like Milliken came in. I was like his big bro, and then Monty Kratzenstein. But, I got to give those guys props down there because they're going to be the next tight end. I didn't treat them. I showed them everything I knew. I wasn't worried about them taking my job. I mean, if they were better than me, they were just going to get it anyway.
Right.
But when we stay after practice, I'd work with Kratzenstein and Milliken on blocking and things like that. I mean, I didn't look, we were all just one big team trying to win a national championship. I wasn't necessarily worried about my job. I'm just going to try to help my tight ends become a better unit. And of course, we had Coach Huey who echoed all that stuff to us.
Absolutely.
You got to compete.
Absolutely. And it is in desire to compete.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have that, you might as well just go on home.
Yep.
And I always loved Coach McBride. Again, we got talking about the recruiting and everything, and I remember him always asking him, "What's this new group look like, Coach? What's your defenders look like?" And Coach McBride would say, "I don't know." He goes, "I know one thing: they're the best at their respective high schools." But he goes, "Until I see them get out here, get punched in the nose by somebody as big and strong as fast as them, I don't know what I'm going to get."
That's right.
I don't know if they're going to run home from mama. I don't want to know if they're going to get a fist fight. I don't know what they're going to do. So I got to see them develop, and see if they want to compete. If they want to compete, then we're going to be in good shape. If they don't, we're just going to bring up the next man.
That's right.
I mean, this is big boy football down here. This isn't, little league and, everybody gets equal snaps. I mean, this is the real world. That's what I love about sports. It shows you that you can work your ass off and still not play, and that's okay.
Right.
Because you wanted to be part of something bigger, right?
That's right. Exactly.
So that's good stuff.
So, Bando, going back to the playing days, I have to ask, who is the toughest defender that you played against at Nebraska?
This is on my own again, as an opponent or on my own team, because I can name a lot of the toughest ones were on my own team. I had to block against every day, but with the likes of Neil Smith and Mark Mumford and Danny Newman and the Sandman, of course, who I had to go up with every day. But the toughest defender by far, and I've said this for 32 years, is Leslie O'Neal at Oklahoma State. The man's was an all-pro, and he's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that dude, pound for pound, he only weighed about 245, and that dude was bad. I mean, I'm telling you what, when you hit him, it felt like you were hitting a block of concrete. But Leslie O'Neal is by far the baddest dude I ever played against. And that includes the likes of Brian Bosworth and Kenny Norton Jr. So I'm telling you, Leslie O'Neal was a stud.
Bendo, we'd like to have you on the next. You got time for the second, this last part we got for you right here?
Yeah.
Hold on for the site, folks. This is Riffin with Raff and AD. Tom Banderas, former Nebraska tight end, 16 catches, 10 yards.
10 touchdowns.
10 touchdowns. He was like, it was more than 10 yards. Is with us on this last section, folks. Stay with us. This is Riffin with Raff and AD on 93.7 The Ticket.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations. Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
Old School with DP and J.
I always try to tell athletes, be where your cleats are. Be in the moment, play by play, possession by possession. That's what Nebraska's women's team does so well. That's why nothing changes. It doesn't matter who's in the game. With the men, that's if they took a little bit of more of that mentality, you would see it. And they've shown games that they've done it. I've seen you do it against, other teams and kind of give the game away. You've seen it on the NC State, play in the moment, continue to play, but then you see the complete opposite.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, Please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatchback burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant, and you can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
Have you been told your furnace has a cracked heat exchanger? Before you spend money needlessly, call Bryant for a free second opinion. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljob.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
My name is Rebecca. I struggled with depression for years. I also smoked. That was my world. Finally, I realized that smoking wasn't helping me. It was making my life worse. So I took control and I quit. Now I'm able to run again and take walks with my grandkids. My tip is there's another world out there, and it's a beautiful place to be.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to Riffin with Raff and AD on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we are back here again. Riffin with Raff and AD this Wednesday night with touchdown Tommy Banderas. Tommy, I got a trivia question for you. Are you ready?
I am ready, my friend.
Can you tell me what happened on October 31st, 1987?
Well, I think, was that down in Missouri?
Ooh, you got a great memory there, big dog.
If I wasn't mistaken, I caught 3 touchdown passes that game. One from Kidd and maybe 2 from Kidd and 1 from Taylor.
That's what I'm talking about right there. 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. Big 8 player of the week. Going home to Missouri. That had to feel pretty good.
Oh, that was so awesome. I mean, that was good stuff. That felt real good. And, you know, had a bunch of people there. And, you know, one of my best memories, really. You know, there was only 3 tight ends in the history of the Big 8 that got offensive, or, you know, basically offensive Big 8 player of the week. 2 of them were 2-year All-Americans and All-Pros.
Oh, wow.
So of the 3, who wasn't a 2-time All-American? But, you know, we had Kellen Winslow and Keith Jackson. So to be kind of in that company and still that 3 touchdowns still is a record that's tied at Nebraska with, you know, probably I think about 5 players, including, you know, Johnny the Jet. So, you know, that was a big day, and you know, it has me in the record books, and I'm proud of that one day. You know, especially because, you know, we were just, I don't want to say it that way. We had a nice passing game, but, you know, everybody knew that Nebraska ran the ball. You know, I knew when I came here that I was going to be a blocking tight end and not a receiving tight end. But, you know, I told Coach Osborne, you know, probably about 20 years ago, that my biggest testament to him was, if I had to do it all over again, you know, the hindsight 2020, I said I would have came back to Nebraska knowing I was only going to catch 16 balls. So I think that he was proud of that. And, I'm really glad I came to Nebraska and have made it my home now. So that's awesome.
Bendo, and first of all, that's an incredible place to have your name with the Winslow and Keith Jackson, and just have a stat like that is just, that's just unheard of, especially as a tight end. Being that, how hard of it was a transition for you to go to, you come from your high school, and like Clester mentioned our last time, you were all world. You were all state in 3 different positions, for heaven's sakes. That's incredible. That's just insane. Then to come to Nebraska and be the little guy on the totem pole. You weren't a little guy by any stretch. Tell me, how did you make that mindset shift to say, you know what, I'm going to have to bust my tail off every single practice, every single lifting session, every different film session in order to compete? How was that mind shift from you becoming from being the all world to coming to a very small guy on campus? How did you deal with that mindset wise?
Well, you just got to kind of get in there, and it's just honestly, it's just a day by day mindset type of deal that, it was really nice though. I got to go back 1 second on that. Cause when Coach Osborne, he said, we have a plan. He goes, you're going to come up here and play freshman football. He goes, then I'm going to redshirt you unless we just have injuries, 2 or 3 guys ahead of you. Mm-hmm. But our goal is really play that Nebraska football, get your education going, get past this first and second semester, get comfortable with campus. We want to still keep you playing football. Then you're going to redshirt. And then really, if you're worth your weight, he goes, you're going to come in here, for your last 3 years, and you're going to contribute, and it may be 1 year, it may be 2 years, it may be 3 years. So I think T.O. kind of took that edge off of a lot of us.
You bet.
Just by knowing that I wasn't going to have to compete for the starting tight end. Now these kids come in as freshmen and think that they're going to be, or they're disappointed if they're not in the rotation or starting, their first year. And that's just a rough mindset, because, a kid will get crushed where, obviously we competed as hard as we could, and we trained and, but we really worked hard on grades. And I think really Coach Osborne, with the system that he had, and knowing that from day one, I think that really helped with the transition as much as anything, because in year 3, I'd been in the weight room for 2 years. I knew the plays inside and out, and I was truly ready to compete, and I was able to get into that rotation my sophomore year, and then I was the starter for 2 years. And of course, the beautiful thing about that with Nebraska is we always really had a 2 tight end system. I was in there with Todd Frayne, and then Todd Milliken was kind of in there with me, and then Monty Kratzenstein was in there a little bit with Milliken. And then before that, you had Mitch Crank and Jamie Williams. So it was nice to have that 2 tight end, because we ran a lot of double tight. So a lot of, your top 2 really were considered starters, in my opinion. So you could really get some snaps, but it's tough. I think a lot of people that really don't know the inside kind of underestimate the time and energy and stress that goes along with being a student athlete. It looks like it's just all glitz and glamour, but behind closed doors, it's real tough and can grind on you. And you see it with all those big classes we used to have. I'll just take Josh's class of 2013. I think that by the end of, when he graduated, there was really only 5 guys that ever got significant playing time out of 26 that were recruited. Mm-hmm. So, it's a tough long haul, and you really have to be committed to it. And so, yeah, but that's that competition. That's what you want, and I tell people all the time that their kids, these young kids, it's just like, all we're going for is a Division I scholarship. And I always tell them, I said, be careful what you wish for.
That's right.
I said, make sure your kids want to do that, because it's a long, hard road, and if you can punch through the other side, it's very rewarding, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it's a long, hard road.
Bendo, what you just said right there, make sure that, that when parents are just stressing D1, Clester Johnson said the same thing. It's like, look, you got to make sure first the kid enjoys it and actually wants to do that. I think in youth sports today, me and Bendo, you both coached our boys in midget football here in Lincoln. And me and you both, unfortunately, seen this at times, where the parents were living vicariously through the kid. The parents want them to play, but the kid really didn't have any interest out there. Me and you both know at a high level, you will get your head and feelings knocked off at that level.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, when I coached Little League, I mean, I had parent meetings, and I put them on the spot. I told the boys, I said, raise your hand if you're here because your parents want you to be. And if inevitably, like 6 or 7 boys would raise their hands, I'd have a talk with their dads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, your son's scared. I don't want to get him hurt, because you know how it is, Aaron. If you're running into people and you're not, and you're just receiving the blunt of that blow, you're going to get hurt.
Yep. It's a collision sport.
And so a lot of other boys, I said, hey, there's a lot of other sports. I mean, heck, there's band, even soccer, basketball, baseball. There's a lot of other sports. It doesn't make sense to run into people in, like 2 Rams. That really makes no common sense, right? I mean, you just have to love the game, but it really makes no sense to people who are like, what are those people doing out there? That doesn't even make any sense. So it can kind of be scary for a kid that's not aggressive, right?
That's right.
It's something else. But yeah, you be careful what you wish for. That's what I tell them. I said, make sure that the kid wants to do it, because if not, half these kids end up burning out by the time they're out of high school, because they're doing everything start to finish. They're not playing 3 or 4 sports, which I highly encourage. And I think most of your big time coaches encourage you to play several different sports. I mean, look, we're looking for athletes. There's no special training for football players. You just want somebody athletic with a little bit of aggression, and you can make them into something.
That's right.
So Bando, I'm going to go back into the Wayback Machine one more time. You'd spoken earlier about Leslie O'Neal for Oklahoma State being probably the toughest guy you'd went up against. Barry Sanders, what was it like going up against him? What, from the sidelines, watching him, could you tell that he was going to be something pretty special?
Well, they had another guy ahead of him named Thurman Thomas, who didn't happen to be too bad either. But we went down there in 1985 or 6. I don't think it's going to be 86. I think we were 2 when they were 6. And they had Mike Gundy was quarterback, Big Hartley Dykes, Rusty Hilger was tight end, and of course, they had Thurman, and they had this special teams punt kick return named Thurman Thomas, and that's when Sandman and Thurman Thomas, going to the movie there. Somehow we got to the same movie before the game, and we had a little pushy shovey, so it was going to be hot on that Saturday, and Thurman had, you have to look, but it's just kind of going off vague memory, 16, 17 carries, but I don't know if he had 20, 30 yards. I mean, our black shirts just stoned him. But kind of the good part of that story was Coach Osborne really never talked to the defense much, but he kind of let it be known. He goes, hey, when you get the tackle that Thurman Thomas on the bottom of the pile, he said, I don't want any ankle twisting. I don't want any extracurricular going down there. He goes, because we do not want the backup in the game. And the backup, of course, was Barry Sanders, who, by the way, in a losing effort the next year up here at Nebraska, I think he rushed for like 254 on us.
Yes.
And of course, now we got infamy, right? I mean, that now he's, one of the most humble guys, I think, in pro football's ever had. Retired before his time because not that he had enough, but he just thought, it's just enough for me.
Absolutely.
Type of situation. But very humble, very humble.
Bando.
But yeah, Barry Sanders was one of a kind.
Bando, I can't tell how much we appreciate that. That story alone is just amazing, man. Don't do anything crazy. You don't want the next guy in there. That's Barry Sanders. Bando, we appreciate you, my man.
Oh no, I love it. Like I said, I'm proud of you guys, man. Having your own show, and anytime I can help you out, you know who to call.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. That's going to do it tonight for the Riffin with Raff and AD show. We will look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great night.